G'day guys, Mark here, welcome to the channel. In this video we're going to talk about tungsten chains and are they worth it or not. Now this question comes after a very good friend of mine asked me this week, why do I use them, are they worth it or not. Alright, so the first question we're going to ask is how much does the chain cost in comparison. So for me to buy a brand new standard chain will cost me $48 to $51, so let's just call it $50 on average. To buy a tungsten chain cost me $87. Now that again will have a variant, so let's just call it $90, righto. So some will say nearly double the price. So let's have a look at some mathematics. Since I bought this saw and firewood season started this year, I've cut about 12 cubic meters of firewood. So for mathematics sake, we'll round that down to 10. So in a cubic meter is approximately 600 kilos of firewood. So times that by 10, you've got 6 tons of firewood was cut by this brand new stock standard chain. Now in that time, every time I would refill the saw, I would resharpen the chain. So on average, that was twice. So let's say 20 times I stopped work and resharpened the chain. Now the last time I bought a brand new tungsten chain, I got 16 cubic meters out of it before I had to sharpen the chain. So do the mathematics on that. If you're a businessman or a serious firewood man and you've got to cut a lot of wood, you don't have time. You've only got one day while you're out there, or 2 days at best, to get the job done. The last thing you want to do is be stopping to sharpen a chain. Now if you sharpened a chain 20 times in a row, that's a day's work. That is $500 of lost income to spend an extra $40 on a chain. To me, that's a no-brainer, righto. If you've got the time to sharpen constantly and do not care, and you are more concerned about spending that extra money, then don't. Just buy a stock standard chain and sharpen. The next reason that I'll say that I think these are truly worth it is when it comes to, like say here, everything here is hardwood. It's iron bark or super hardwood, and it's firewood. It's on the ground. It's not up on a set of trestles waiting for you to cut it and it's beautifully clean. It's covered in bark. Sometimes it's laying in dirt. This will handle that a lot better than what your stock standard chain will. You hit one bit of dirt or even a bit of bark and your standard chain does not like it. And everything here, as I said, is iron bark or hardwood, so you're going to come across bark consistently and dirt. And a lot of the logs will have that internal kind of breakdown dirt where they get dust built in them over time, and it's a pain. So when it comes to super hard wood, this thing is so much better. Alright, so enough chit chat, let's go and give it a run and let's see how it actually goes. Alright, and you guys can see for yourself how good it is when it comes to super solid hardwood and iron bark at getting through a piece of bark as well as the wood. So let's go get into the job, guys. Alright guys, here's our work site for the day. So no, we won't be cutting all the way down to here. Look at the size of this tree. That is absolutely monstrous. So we're going to be starting up this end and cutting off the branches, etc. So let's get on with it. Alright guys, we've gone through a tank of fuel and we've broken up all of the end of that tree, cut it all up. So now would be the time I would normally need to stop, refuel and sharpen. So I haven't resharpened, we've refueled, and we're going to move on to the next test, which is an iron bark tree over behind me covered in bark. So we'll go give that a run and see if it is still just as sharp as what it was when I started on this load. Alright guys, this is what we mean when we say iron bark. How thick and gnarly that bark is to get through. So anyway guys, this is the one that we're going to give a go. guys, there you have it. Just as sharp on the second tank of fuel as what it was on the first, and still absolutely ploughing through this timber. To answer the question, it completely boils down to opinion. In my opinion, for me, it's 100% worth it. And I would, if you hate sharpening and you're like me, you don't want to waste time having to stop and sharpen, yeah, so what if it's an extra 40 bucks? Dude, you have a way, man, of just being a pest, don't you? You love it. Do you think you're the star of the channel? Anyway, guys, back to the question we're trying to answer without the dog in the way. Yeah, in my opinion, they're completely worth it for me. But you guys have got to make up your own mind. Thank you so much for always tuning in, guys. Peace out. I hope I helped you make a decision on whether it's worth it or not. Take care. Catch us in the next video.